Qualifier, we're going to be seeing them on bind here first, with T1 on the defense and Complexity kicking us off on the attack.
And it looks like so far comps are about what we'd expect. Nothing looks overly surprising. This is some of what we were discussing prior on, but it looks like early on Complexity trying to work their way up short aggressively, and he dipped out, and I don't know that that was on purpose here.
Maybe not, but they're still going to push forward anyways. Ohai has been flashed by the light and still going to find one there onto Spider, the 4v3 now. As Complexity down a member, Spike still in their hands, are looking to get this towards the A side. Of course, we have Sharky already now rotated over. AGM with the lurk through the showers, finds Skadoodle, thinking about the match at hand, daydreaming at the stars, while now they're starting to push on forward. The Vents kill will go over to Daze, as now they are starting to pinch in. The 2v2, Spike is down.
Remember, 58% win rate for Complexity on the attacking side, and so far, so good. It seems like they're holding serve. They are up 1 here in this opening pistol round. It's just down to Daze. 22 health. They know exactly where he is. This is, my friends, what we like to refer to as a difficult situation.
A very difficult situation. He still has utility. He doesn't fall one out there. The jumping classic's going to work out, but guess who's coming in from behind? That's right. Now that the tripwire is taken down, Jonah has revealed his position, but as the spike ticks down, it does look like Daze is just going to take this ghost, maybe get out to safety, but he's going to take a quick dirt nap through the portal. We'll see if Jonah survives. He does not. Goes down to the wire. Complexity winning the pistol, off to a great start. We'll see now if T1 decides to fourth up or save to that third round.
Oh yeah, and I mean, it got interesting at the end there by Daze with that jumping burst, but we're going to take a quick look at how things went down. Thank you to our friends over at GoPuff, sponsors of the replay that did not deliver. We'll get you guys some more replays as soon as we can, but for now, huge shout out to our friends over at GoPuff for taking care of us nonetheless. Here's the second round. And once again, so early on, it looked like Complexity wanted to do something up a short. This time they're showing T1 something a little different, which is surprising. Oftentimes, you'll see a team on the attacking side win the pistol, know where their strength lies, and they can hit that again. This time, Complexity giving them something to think about.
We had an early play towards the portal side. Of course, it does not go the way of T1. Important to note that the two players invested in that portal play we're taking down with weapons in hand. Stingers purchased by a few T1 members, so this is likely an awkward 50% force up. They're just kind of interested on keeping some of the weapons quite simple. But you see Brax here actually with the Spectre. Never mind. It's going to be a full force up, and considering they're now down to 2 players remaining, with that spike being planted, it's all down to the roads here from AZK. If he can land his frag, it's going to be good at least to start the 2v3. Now as the rotate starts to come over, you've got point defense towards the defender spawn. AGM has been playing 2 rounds in a row, phenomenal lurking. And now it's just down to AZK. I don't imagine he's going to make it out of this one alive, but a really rough round considering the force up with all weapons bought here for T1.
Yeah, at this point, yeah, the problem is you can't even really easily get away. Ohai's just going to pick him apart. With the Bulldog getting the best of the Stinger, it was tough, right? He was cornered in U-Haul. He had a weapon that he ideally would have loved to have kept, but it's just not able to get out of there. The thing is, however, the force up, it's not just that they lost that round, but it's the implications of it, right? They chose to push the matter a little bit over on that second round, and now, once again, T1 comes in with very little to work with.
I have to give a lot of credit to AGM, the way that he's been playing. The first round, he caught T1 a little surprised by the showers play. I don't even know how he broke through, because there was a tripwire that he managed to maybe jump through somehow, some way. Early pick here from Ohai is going to bode incredibly well for Complexity to start, but I'd imagine the weapons are obviously less than ideal. They forced up, they lost. It's going to be a third round here for Complexity if T1 have anything to say about it. But that second round as well, he played point defense for the defender spawn. He didn't really chalk it up to the default, you know, pull back, get into the post-plant position. He was willing and able to do the dirty work for Complexity, and we'll likely see that continue as he's already, once again, team's here at A short. He's in the showers. He's going to probably push forward first and let the rest of the team follow suit.
Stealing sight.
You heard the telly go through as well, as it looks like Complexity has managed to get onto the site with relative ease. Just 2 members left on the side of T1. They're going to be coming in from different sides of the map, so their strength will be divided. their guns certainly can't stand toe-to-toe with what they're going to be going up against.
Player remaining.
AGM is able to take care of Skadoodle. One left on the side of T1.
I got the spike.
On the opposite side with a Shorty and a Dream,
Spike planted.
but it's really Complexity living the dream. 5 members against 1, and Brax with Shorty likely not going to have the most severe impact. If he's able to find one here, he does have to reload. But 2 shots is all you get, and he manages to find his mark. So not a flawless round by any means, but Complexity definitely sitting pretty. Look at how long they've held on to these weapons. It's 2 rounds in a row. The economy is feeling really good. If they can find a win here, T1 is going to be scrambling, moving on into the the middle part of this half.
Here.
For Complexity, that'll be 4 rounds in a row. Economy is looking real good, and for T1, that force up on the second round is really going to cost them here if they lose this round up ahead.
Certainly, and the interesting thing for Complexity, it looks like they're choosing to continue with those weapons that they've had. They've had so much success with it, so why not? But they had an interesting decision to make there, right? They've got money in the bank. They can choose to buy up, knowing that T1's going to be bringing full rifles, or they can sit on it and see if they're able to best them even at the gun disadvantage. Confidence high for Complexity here, as it looks like the spike is considering making its way at B. 3 members on the side of T1 there to hold the fort, at least for now.
Oh, I mean, if you think about it, if they lose 3 in a row, they'll have lots of money to work with, and already Dazed is not having a lot of life forces left within him as he's taken down by the push forward. Lockdown initiated. We're looking at a quick battle here if they can survive, and now the upgrade here for AGM, I likely think that's going to bode well. Sharky as well from the hookah side. T1 is falling apart. It's down to 3 members remaining. One player's got to rotate from the A side. They'll at least find one to trade. We'll see how Complexity deal with the rest of this round.
T1 just down to 2 members left, as it sounds like the spike is going down, and now Brax has rotated over from A to join the fun, and as soon as he shows up, guys, let's get out of here. We don't want any of this mess. It looks like Complexity is going to be able to get that round win, again, on the lower guns. And here's the interesting thing about how that played out, Timo. T1 established control around B side. The Killjoy ult was used, and Brax did not rotate. The reason for that is because T1 had pushed their way, or excuse me, Complexity had pushed their way up B long. They had that telly outplay at any given moment. By that, once they cleared the site, then they realized that, or then they had the door open. They were able to work their way over onto B. Then they're able to get the spike down, and that at that point, Brax rotated over. But you could have been watching the minimap and thinking, what the heck? Why isn't Brax moving? It's because he had to guard for that telly play up until the very last moment.
Complexity still end up going hunting. We'll find one. It does trade. Spider, the only one with weapons moving into that second round. This likely is going to be some form of a soft buy, or maybe even just the save altogether. But now Complexity are like, enough is enough. They have found some upgrades. Some of the members will invest down to get rid of some of those old weapons that they had previous. But that is a rough spot to be in here if you're T1. You're really grasping at straws. And I ultimately think that Complexity are playing a solid attack plan here. And for T1, they're just not defaulting correctly, I think, on Bind. We'll have to pay attention a little bit closer to make sure that is the truth and not just a subjective opinion. But so far, this B-side defense, we'll see how it pans out, as Complexity are likely interested to start, but they might just be looking for picks to start off.
Oh, hi. Trying to clear his way up B long. Seeing if any fire is going to come through. His smoke's going to go down. He should be able to get this ult orb from here. And you see T1 has still invested a good bit on this B side, Timo. They still have 3 members over here, the same set that they showed us last round. Boy, here comes the showstopper. The flash was there as well. Skadoodle gets one, but he's not. He's going to get taken out. First and foremost, 100 Fury is going to be used on the other side, and Daze takes care of Oh Hi. T1 still with the numbers advantage.
Very well played there. They used the Owl Drone to scout forward to allow the Showstopper to get a little bit closer. They only find one, but the Hunter's Fury to follow. They invest a
30
lot
seconds left
to secure the lead here. But how long will it last? So far, gun duels really have been favoring Complexity in this instance. Now that they start to push forward, Daze on the opposite side. AZK with the Ghost holds down the door, and now we're seeing it down to AGM. 1v3, time is ticking. Likely not going to get anything going here. Might be just looking for a pick or two on the way out, as Brax playing cat and mouse between the doors, but AGM is looking to get a little bit more involved as he almost tries to rush in. T1 going to secure their first round after a phenomenal ultimate play down B long.
He's just sitting there. He even got tagged up a couple more times right at the end, but he's finally, the round's finally going to get over. He is going to survive, but as you said, T1 on the board. And Simo, that was Complexity buying full rifles there, right? Like, that was a full rifle round, so an important round win for T1, not just to get on the board, but to do so with less than ideal weapons.
It did boil down to some of that ultimate usage that they had set up that would not have worked if Complexity had gone towards the A site. They would have had to, you know, think about how they were going to use the Hunter's Fury or the Showstopper in that instance. But they read that correctly there from T1 and played it accordingly. The Allo Drone and in combination with the Showstopper and the Hunter's Fury. But it wasn't a complete gun round. They were able to pick up some of the weapons from T1's first ever gun round. But we're now seeing a little bit of engagements towards the shower side. Spider wins the duel up against Ojai. That was an op v op duel, by the way. And now it's just down to 3 for Complexity. T1 are starting to look alive.
Yeah, and their defensive setup's a bit different here relative to what we've seen in the prior 5 rounds. They had 3 actually on A this time, those opening picks, and that was also the first round where we saw 2 operators. So an important win for Cypher, or excuse me, for Spider. Brax gets one as well. Complexity is down to 2 members left.
One enemy remaining.
Yeah, bad situation for Complexity here.
I still have to commend them for getting off to an incredibly hot start. For T1, though, they're starting to look alive. They're starting to answer back, and that is ultimately the most important thing for them. I did highlight that if T1 are able to sneak away this win, the Descent is going to be a cakewalk for T1. So if they can just bear through this, they can really wrap things up early and move on to their opponent, which is going to be the winner of Gen G versus Equinox, likely going to be Gen G, I think. But in this particular instance, Complexity can at least be happy that if T1 start on this, incredible tear, it's going to be an 8-4 finish, and they're going to have a lot more work that they can do on the defensive side. I'm obviously getting a little bit ahead of myself, but T1, now that they've got weapons online, they're feeling like they're a little bit more in control, and Complexity have to switch things up in anticipation to T1's new adaptation with the weapons that they have now prepared, the utility that they have ready, the ultimates that they have, and adapt accordingly.
It was interesting what we saw XP3 do there at the end of the round. Drops the operator, knowing that he's in a 1vx situation, and knowing that if he dies, that's another operator in the hands of T1. So he drops it in a corner, and really hopes that nobody finds it, but runs the risk of, or cancels out, the risk of getting killed and having that weapon picked up off of him. Unfortunately, he survived. Hindsight is always 20/20. He would have gotten away with that thing, but a heady play there not to put a powerful weapon into the hands of his opponents.
I'm really curious what Sharky was doing there. He might have tried to get the Roomba off-roading there for a quick sec using the blast pack, but he might have been looking to try to get some of that utility down, that Cypher utility, if planted in the hookah side. We obviously know that that's not the case. It's planted on the B site. Got some tripwires, got something cooking, but Complexity consistently, and to be fair, I think we see a lot of teams hit the B site or the A site, but never both, never swapping back and forth. It seems like Complexity very interested in this B site. This time around, defensive setup is a little different. They have the race towards the A site, and now as they start to push in, Jonah trying to clear out the back of site, and they're going to use the Showstopper as well, but guess what? No one is there. T1 are playing incredibly passive towards the defensive side here on this B site. Now as they're planning this spike, they're starting to get involved. This is where T1 are going to fight back.
I love how they played that. They played patiently, and then they are able to respond in kind with the numbers. Brax is able to get 2. Jonah's going to trade it out as both teams are down to 3 apiece. The spike has been playing it as well. Jonah trying to get some information. The problem for T1 is here, they're all going to be coming in from the same side. The Paranoia comes out, they swing. Ojai's able to get 1. He gets a second, looking for the 3rd. Jonah gets it. Jonah cleans it up. Complexity get another round.
I just have to say, although Complexity win the round, there were a couple of things that should have never happened. Brax breaking through the elbow side and finding that pick onto Sharky, that's not supposed to happen. Because XP3 falls in the octagon, and the rest of the team is huddled actually on the plant, on the default plant spot. And Sharky is holding down the cubby, trying to hold down any of the defense, pushing in through the doors. But the fact that Brax gets another frag there before he falls is huge for T1. Unfortunately, they can't convert, they can't break through. But still, these are some of the slight little mistakes that Complexity can't afford to let happen up against veteran T1 players that have years and years of competitive experience.
Ultimate used, it seemed like it was to get information, but he actually committed all the way in. All right, Ohai's going to get taken out. Skadoodle gets the best of him, but remember, there is a player of Complexity up in heaven who's still trying to hold that down. It's XP3, who has not been taken out yet.
Ooh.
They should be able to get onto the site here. Sharky's going to work his way up. They know where one player is. There's the blast pack, and the bullets are going to take care of business as AZK is taken out. Spider follows suit. T1 down to 2 members left on the opposite side of the map. Complexity in full control of this A site.
Okay, I just want to ask you a question, and you can answer in any way that you want. How does T1 let XP3 teleport towards that heaven side? Don't you hear the audio cue? You have AZK in that strange A-side cubby in that corner there that we've seen, to be fair, from what I recall of recent memory, TSM Sabrosa play close towards that vent entryway. But how do you not hear him commit to that teleports towards the heaven side? I understand that AZK is trying to hold off the push on the actual site, but why weren't there reinforcements called from T1? I just don't understand how that round was played from a defensive route, because Complexity played that perfectly. They took over the site, they found the picks that they needed, they had great crossfire set up. The T1 weren't really accounting for, and then you have this play from XP3, because even if the members on the site fall, you've got this incredible flank that T1 just strangely did not account for.
Yeah, that was really surprising. Oftentimes when you see an Omen take an aggressive ult like that, it's just to get information, right? Like, you seldom see that work for 2 reasons. Either 1, they get shot up before they finish the ultimate, or 2, they just don't commit to it because it's such a high-risk play. But XP3 realized, okay, well, there's nobody up here. There's nobody shooting me out. They do fully commit to it. And that gave them all of the presence around that site that they needed. And as you were mentioning, even if he dies up in heaven, what he's doing is buying time, right? They know that there's 1 member on site. Anybody else rotating from the defensive side of the map is going to be spotted out by XP3, so they get all of the information that they need. That right there was a space play, right? Like, to be able to establish that much presence and to get that much space for his team proved to be the difference maker on that round.
We're now seeing Complexity once again look towards this B side. We've got Brax holding down Hookah. He's not going to let anyone in, but he's going to escape. Jonah's got control. AGM supports there with the crossfire. Daze is trying to not let them in as they've already taken down his fellow teammate. Jonah will be able to deal with Daze. And another pretty standard site hit here for Complexity. T1 invested a lot of resources towards the A site this time around, as they had obviously felt that maybe Complexity might be hitting there once again. But now with the spike down, a 3v4, doable with injured members from Complexity, but it all boils down to this first kill. Skadoodle going to take him down. Now with 3v3, things are looking a little bit easier here for T1.
Yeah, Skadoodle getting that kill there is huge because it allows him to push all the way around Elbow and bring fire from different areas. If they choose to, obviously it looks like they're still just going to commit and invest everything on this site. Spider not able to get one. You heard the showstopper has been used. Spider does finally get the shot onto Jonah, but AGM puts the stop on it as Complexity managed once again to get onto the B site and establish full control and take the round.
I find it interesting that they did not pick up the op there for Ohai. He did bring it into that 5th round, maybe that 6th round, but Spider was able to have his number, and Spider's going to consistently be opping. I find that interesting because Skadoodle used to be the designated opper when he played Sova for T1. Now, of course, on the duelist role, he's going to be looking at being more of a rifler for T1, but I find it interesting that the duel between Ohai and Spider likely going to carry on in the second half, as maybe Ohai was like, yeah, I'm not going to fight a hit scan player who played Widowmaker for like for his Overwatch. Like, I think I'm just gonna sit this one out. Maybe I'll try it again in the second half when I get Peeker's advantage. But right now, I'm just gonna chill. All right, I'm just gonna rifle. Okay.
Oh, Sharky, big swing there onto Daze, able to trade that kill out. Sharky's also gonna use the showstopper again. Patient Showstopper used. Now he blasts his way forward. Nobody is home yet again. I love how T1 do that time and time again. As soon as an ultimate is heard, especially something like a Showstopper, they just back up. They just give up that space, but they don't lose anybody in exchange.
Nowhere to run.
A little bit of an engagement happening in A short now as we start to look at XP3's angle. Jonah just trying to clear out the elbow side. Unfortunately, I think a little wide as he did not get that closer angle. AGM wins the duel against Skadoodle. I'm not sure where Skadoodle was going. He did end up dropping down. Spider, oh, I actually even saw that. Strange that AGM might have been blended in there with the purple smoke.
30
Spider
seconds left.
dangerously injured. They're going to use the nanoswarm to not let him in. He does win a gun duel. Crucial as it's now down to a 2v3. Spike is planted. T1 have no idea where Complexity are located, and they're trying to clear out with their utility. But considering Spider is incredibly injured, this is a tough push now forward. At least they're going to get the flashpoint, help out the push. Now it's a 2v2. But if you sneeze on Spider, he's going to fall apart. Lockdown now is officially put down. It's right behind Tetris. They're now trying to push forward. Jonah going to find one. Jonah going to find two. As T1 down by 6 rounds cannot make that attack plan work out.
Complexity looking really, really good out of the gates here. And the thing for T1 is, Simo, they've tried adjusting on the fly, right? Like, they've invested different resources. They've played really well on giving up the site and not losing anybody in exchange for ultimates. The problem is they've struggled on getting the sites back, right? Like, if Complexity shows up onto the site and they're going to blow all of these ultimates, T1, again, is going to back off and give up that space, but they never claim it back, and that's what has Complexity. It's such a big lead here. T1, now they have a couple of ultimates of their own, but you gotta try to keep this as respectable as possible going into half. Oh no, AGM!
AGM has usually been the player here for Complexity that is doing severe damage. 2-1, time and time again, finding these first picks, lurking through the showers, and this time Skadoodle finds his number. After rounds of passive play towards the shower, Skadoodle finally pushes forward, and I think, to be fair, there was an engagement that happened down that long side, and maybe they had anticipated a heavier membership count towards that B site, but Complexity going to be looking towards a different angle. XP3 gets deep into the site, unknown by Skadoodle. Now he finds a pick there onto Ohai, pushes forward. This has been a very interesting round, and they're actually going to switch seats. Omen pushes forward. He does teleport back behind enemy lines, but he does not commit to it. And now Complexity, they'll trade, they'll find another. It's just down to the 2v2 with XP3 behind enemy lines.
What the heck is this round?
I have no idea.
He's continuing to push all the way through. Both members of T1 are just kind of sitting ducks here in this teleporter. AZK gets shot out through the wall. Here.
Shock dart right here. Shock dart right here.
One enemy remaining.
Jonah goes aggressive. He just chases it down, but Skadoodle's the last one there. The problem is for Complexity,
10 seconds left.
there's no he can't get onto the spike. He's never going to get onto the spike there. At best, he gets the kill, but this looks like it's going to be probably one of the most unique rounds I've ever seen. What a round for T1 nonetheless. And here's the thing. Complexity had full control of A. You called XP3 working his way all the way up through pipes to establish control back there. Skadoodle was the last one on A, and he was absolutely surrounded, right? There was nowhere that he could go. At best, he gets a pick and then gets taken out. And the way that round should have gone was Complexity, they just continue to cement their presence on A. They get the spike down. They win that round. But they just continued to push through. XP3 continued to work his way all the way over to B, and then they tallied. It was just a mess.
I honestly just think there was a miscommunication from Complexity. Jonah had another shock dart and a recon bolt that he could have just kept throwing in and given space for XP3 to get on in towards the portal side. This is a great first pick here from Sharky, considering Brax was playing so close with the judge there. But yeah, that was just, I can imagine Chad is probably just like, what happened? Like, how does that happen? But Complexity, I think, just maybe a little overconfident in that situation, saying, yeah, we got this 1v2, no problem. Then XP3 can't convert. So Dazed finds an early pick there onto Sharky, having a little bit more of an angle towards the hookah. And now as Skadoodle pushes forward, he's going to find a pick onto XP3 as well. Revenge after that round. And now T1 with a man advantage can secure this B side temporarily.
And AGM gets taken out over on A. No door is open
I got the spike.
for Complexity here on either site. They didn't get anything going over on A. Jonah, however, is keeping things interesting over on B. Skadoodle's going to use ultimate to try to create some space, and he's going to get it. Jonah gets taken out. Complexity down to one member left. They've got the spike,
30 seconds
so it's
left.
certainly not out of the realms of possible, but as weak as Ohai is in a 1v3, things not looking good for Complexity.
It's been a very strange game between T1 and Complexity, but I like this call. Closer towards the portal side. Ohai has
10
to act,
seconds
he has
left.
to get involved. Daze with the correct call, waiting close, waits with the judge, right into the open arms of Daze. That's at least a play that we can confidently say was correct. They called that read, they called it the portal play. He wasn't getting onto the site, they heard no movement. He was gonna hop through the portal, and Daze was right there waiting for him. So that's a good first half here. T1 managed to claw their way back in. Now we're gonna be looking at their attacking side. If they can start to lay on some of these rounds early, you can anticipate them catching up sooner rather than later. But for Complexity, it's been a pretty interesting half. They had a lot of great rounds strung together, especially after that hot start. If that pistol was won by T1, we might have seen a completely different half had they found some of their own momentum. But now it is up to Complexity to defend and T1 to attack.
Or, you know, even if T1 doesn't gamble after losing the pistol on that second round, if they don't force up, we could be having a different conversation. But nonetheless, there were a couple of things that we can talk about in that half, but at the end of the day, the dust is settled for the first half, and this is where we find ourselves. 8-4, Complexity in the lead, and now Complexity on the defense. T1, we talked about how these teams prefer to play one specific side on this map. Let's see just how well T1 can do now that they're attacking.
And ultimately, we can also boil things down to this pistol round as well. If Complexity find these two specific, you know, the pistol and the second round conversion, they'll be sitting at 4-10. And considering their ability to 3-round convert, I mean, we're only looking at this first map, but that 3rd round conversion was definitely spicy. And if they can do the same again, they'll be in a good spot. Now Skadoodle, oh, that's so good from XP3. He's bought enough time for Ohai. He's been so annoying for Skadoodle. He's like, yeah, I'm over here. I'm just peeking in. I'm just looking in. Ohai, fog of war, too much there for Skadoodle, and they'll find the first pick. T1 now looking towards the A site.
Yeah, they get the heck out of dodge and rotate their way over, but there is going to be a good bit of Killjoy utility to keep things at bay as AGM tries to hold down this U-Haul angle with 30 seconds left in the round. They're going to have to bust the move and do so soon
Jonah.
as they try to funnel their way in. Spider's able to get the opening frag. Jonah from the other side gets 2 as he gets taken out at the hands, of Spider. Ohai takes out Spider to finish off the round for Complexity. They win the pistol yet again.
Well played there by Jonah. Of course, Sharky and Jonah, trialed members here for Complexity, showing up when it matters. I know that it was something minute, but hiding in the Tetris little nook, the little cranny, hiding from the recon bolt, allowed him to get into a position to take down a couple of injured members from T1, and it does not feel good when that happens. Considering T1 forced up in the second round of the first half, I'd imagine this would be another round where you'd want to do so, but they're going to hold on, wait for that 3rd gun round. They can't risk it again, as they had risked it initially. Now it should be Complexity with the slight weapon advantage, considering there's probably not everyone's going to invest in some new weapons.
Well, they just can't afford to risk it again, right? Like, they saw how disastrous it was the first time, and again, for them to be as down as they are here, it's just a much higher stakes situation. Brax getting pushed back. He's going to get paranoid. He's going to get shot in the back at the hands of XP3. He's going to be sitting on the sideline for the rest of this round as Complexity has the numbers advantage.
XP3 had to get back onto that site immediately. He got that pick on to Brax, and he had to get back to the A site because he was the only one there. Now he's got a little bit more membership on the site. Finds the pick there onto Skadoodle as he's traded out by the Roomba. Complexity playing this map incredibly well, but it all boils down to this third round, but the first gun round of the second half. Lots of numbers there. I'll let you guys decipher that one. T1, this is a win or lose situation. You lose this one, you honestly put Complexity in a position to close out this first map, and that is not something that T1 want. They, of course, will feel pretty comfortable on Ascent, but they would rather have a 2-0 sweep to kick off the close qualifier.
Absolutely. Complexity showing that for them, it doesn't matter if T1 forces up in the second round or not.
Oh.
They're still going to get their due. Spider with an important opening pick there onto Jonah to give them the numbers advantage. I don't think we've been able to say that very much this map, Timo.
Honestly, this is just kind of a personal taste, but I hate when teams push up A short on the defense, and then you look in the showers as well and try to find a pick. Paranoia is at least good. Now starting to push forward. Needs to get involved. Needs to find a pick, but cannot. And now it's down to one final player. It's Sharky, but for some reason, the Spider takes out the Shark.
So Complexity, they decided to play that aggressively, which is fine. But when they lost the first member, they continued to commit to that playstyle. They continued to push aggressively through showers. They lost 2 members in showers. They lost another one down short, if I'm not mistaken. Complexity just decided from the very beginning, look, it doesn't matter what happens. It doesn't matter how things go down. We're going to put the pedal to the metal, and we're going to see what happens. And T1 was just able to pick them apart with the rifles that they brought into the round.
That was understandably one round by T1, but the way that Complexity had played it was a little too overzealous, a little too aggressive, maybe a little too comfortable that they could take that third round conversion similar to what they did in that first half, but gotta slow it down a little bit. Seeing Ohai here with the operator, this is likely going to be a very important round for Complexity. They want to make this op work. We saw in the 4th or 5th round how Spider really had the number against Ohai, but the attack don't normally buy an operator. It's not something that you normally see unless you are incredibly confident. And for Ohai, he lost that first gun duel. He's like, you know what, team? I'm not going to keep forcing it. I'm not going to keep risking it. Let's try to bring this now to the defensive side.
Blocking sight.
Members of T1
Here.
currently poised to work their way over onto A, even with the smoke out of Ohai. They decide that they don't want to go yet, and because of that, Ohai's able to buy enough time. He drops down, he gets 1, but T1 traded back with 2, as it looks like members of Complexity are just falling apart. T1 has taken over the site. They have the personnel advantage as well, and the spike has gone down. T1 in firm control.
And T1 winning some of these gun duels is an absolute beauty to watch, especially in the hands of Skadoodle, but we've got a couple of shots here sent out by Sharky. He's still able to make it work as well, but a great round from T1. You saw that Ohai was in a very sticky situation. He's like, where do I go? There's this utility everywhere. He tries to put down some of his own smokes. They send in an aftershock. They send in the works towards his direction. But ultimately, what seals his fate is Skadoodle just by spraying from a short. So they had a 2-pronged approach from T1, and the fact that Skadoodle was able to provide some of that firepower while Spider dealt with lamps, the trust in this T1 roster, we're seeing it live, form live, the bonds of the team forming right before our very eyes. But a very well-played round there from T1 in Complexity. If Ohai had lived, I'd imagine he would have done a little bit more damage with that operator, but now it's the eco for the defense.
And even with the eco in mind, you see how passively T1 wants to play this. They have not fully invested on one side. They're not going to do a hot and heavy hit. They're really just trying to wait this out and play for picks. There's no Blade Storm on the side of Complexity to keep things interesting. This is just a straight up, yeah, we don't have a whole lot of guns. We do have this insane bow and arrow that can pick you apart, but other than that, they're not bringing a whole lot to this fight. Oh?
And some of these T1 members find themselves in the stickiest of situations. Unfortunately, the Paranoia, like this play, we'll see if Brax is able to survive. He does not. Spider is coming from the flank, or rather, it's not really a flank if you're coming from where you originally spawned. But finds one, looking for the second. As they're still trying to keep him at bay, Spider will take down 2, but still they'll manage to find 1. Skadoodle will dispatch the defense on the B site. And it's honestly business as usual for T1. But the fact that 2 members have fallen is at least something to be confident about for Complexity. We'll see if XP3 can find a third.
Well, he did pick up a Vandal as well. Question, do you save this gun, just try to carry it into the next round and think about the longer con? Or do you try to take a 1v3, or maybe he's looking for pick or exit on the way out, but for now, slowly creeping his way through Hookah. Doesn't have any utility to work with at this moment. Yeah, and it looks like he's just kind of backing off here. Maybe get an exit on the way out, but this round almost inevitable to go into the hands of T1 here.
Oh, Just barely missed. Gonna get into another position, gets into an engagement. Shots from distance. I like this picture-in-picture. We're looking at Dazed's perspective on this left side. He does get smoked off, and XP3 just gonna huddle up, stay warm by the fire, and the attacker spawn as they will now spawn, and he will spawn towards the defensive side as we start another round. T1, 3 in a row after the pistol and second round conversion now starting to go their way. This is a gun round for Complexity. This will be a turning point or the consistent trend of T1. And considering that there's another op in the hand of Ohai, they're very committed to doing some early damage here with Ohai. And imagine he's going to be looking towards B short, or maybe a little bit more of a less of aggressive peek towards the portal side. But Complexity devoted to bringing this op into play and to carrying them to a victory.
It looks like we have entered a tactical pause. We'll get you guys back into the action as soon as we possibly can. But for now, Complexity up 3. T1 has managed to put together, as you said, 3 very, very much needed rounds just to keep this map competitive. And Simo, it's been the slowing of the pace for T1 that has been the difference maker for me. We saw a couple of early aggressive hits during the pistol round, but since then it's just been let's just wait, right? Like, even if we know we have the gun advantage, let's just wait. And it seems like it's paying off.
Well, now we're literally waiting. So I guess that's also going to help them out. But we have to say, we have to identify, we've been quite critical of Spider in the past, at least for the open qualifier. But this is where I think there's a little bit of a clean slate for some teams. You know, this is where it all matters. This is where you got to turn up the heat and really perform, really prove that you deserve to be one of the 8 teams that'll face off for $100,000 in the First Strike final championship later on in December. This is where all it matters. This is where all of it comes to the forefront. And all the criticism, all of it washes away as you put on a great performance. And Spider has done exactly that. 16, 12, and 2 above Duelist Skadoodle. Just slightly. See if T1 can continue that performance with Spider as Complexity on their gun round are looking to sneak away round number 11.
Saw Skadoodle work his way up into the smoke, not have to shoot that dart out and keep himself alive. Here the Hunter Fury has been used from Jonah as they try to tag somebody up, but it's going to be traded in kind. As Daze is trying to catch somebody, I believe he dealt a little bit of damage onto one, but neither team losing a member. T1 has worked their way up the long. They have that telly in their back pocket. Should they choose, excuse me, to rotate their way out. Daze tries to go aggressive and get the orb, but he gets punished for it at the hands of XP3.
Yeah, look at that. They use the owl drone there from Jonah to push forward and to help XP3 get a little bit more space to engage. And he hops in, hops out, finds a pick onto Dazed, who now has the IGL from the sidelines. T1 are like, yeah, we're not going to be going there anytime soon. Smoke off towards Heaven, but Ohai's not there. So this push in from Brax is going to happen momentarily. Ohai's going to be able to stop it as AJM is just trying to buy time and deny space for T1 to get involved. But teleport from Spider is huge. That's going to be one down, and that's huge now for T1 to get control of this A site.
And they know where he is. Spider eventually does go down because every single crosshair was on him at that moment. But T1 still for now in control of the site. They are down in numbers and Raze is weak. But for now, they're okay. Skadoodle's able to get one. Going to try to blast pack and create some spaces. AZK gets one as well. Complexity just down to 2 members left. They had the numbers advantage, and it has, for all intents and purposes, been eradicated. The spike continues to tick as it drops down to a 2v2. The ult is there. You hear it? There it is. As soon as the defuse goes out, the Rolling Thunder comes out as well. Now they choose to go a little bit aggressively, and Skadoodle gets punished for it, but the problem is there's not enough time. AZK can just play this passively, but Jonah punishes him for it, and it does not look like... Oh, okay.
It was close.
Oh my gosh.
Close.
That easily could have gone the other way.
It could have. And the way that Complexity played that out was well played. They just did not have enough time to get the heroics underway. They had already spent a lot of time working their way back onto the site, and Spider proved to be an incredible nuisance, teleporting towards the Heaven side, literally taking a page out of the book of Complexity that they did one time in the round previous in the first half, teleporting towards the Heaven side, catching some Complexity members a little unaware. I think that round might have gone a little differently if Ohai was a little bit more cognizant of a potential 15 towards Lamps. But great positioning from Skadoodle to say, hey, we're going to sit in a little bit of a spot that is, you know, a little bit strange and not usually checked there, and he saw the barrel of the weapon first and had the ability to swing. Moving on to this round, we already see a trade that has occurred in towards the A short side, and the action continues as it's aggression on both sides, quite frankly, towards the shower side and then towards B short, down to a 3v3. T1 heading over towards the A side, but Ohai in an aggressive position to hold down the front line from the showers.
And, you know, we've seen out of Complexity a number of times now their willingness to play this aggressively. And in T1, again, we talked earlier about how they're willing to play so passively and so slowly and just wait things out. Well, if you know the Complexity is going to run at you for the first 20 seconds of the round, why the heck not? And that's what has us down into this 3v3. The health advantage is in favor of T1 here, but Complexity, they're still holding down the fort.
Yeah, that's got to be unfortunate for Ohai, but wait, what? Where does that shot dart go? That is some unfortunate RNG. I'm gonna chalk that up to RNG. That's probably just a little small ledge in the wall that just did not, you know, well, it doesn't look like there's a whole lot of ledges in there, but that's unfortunate. Jonah, unfortunately, gonna have to run away. T1 likely going to either maybe play it safer, don't hunt him down. I don't imagine there's a lot of opportunities for them to want to chase down the defense. I think they're going to be back down to... Oh, no, they should be okay, I think, economically. But T1 have been playing a decent attacking half, have been finding a lot of great success, breaking open onto sites. Complexity, I don't think they've got a... Wait a second. Oh, that would have been scary. That would have been scary. If Jonah finds that pick, he diffuses, and he's a hero. Like, that's facts right there.
Complexity still up, but it's been one hell of a half from T1. 5 rounds in a row, and they've done it both ways. They've managed to get the kills that they need in order to win the round, and they've had the spike go off a couple of times. Complexity was able to win the pistol. They won the round after, and since then, they've just been absolutely lost. And T1, the patience with which T1 has played has just continued to cause fits for Complexity. And look, again, AGM... It's just utility this time, but it's an aggressive look. Meanwhile, on the other side, they already have 2 members that have pushed all the way up into hookah.
They were looking for that aggressive op peak, and they were going to trade if Ohai ended up falling, but I don't... There might have been a smoke or something. They just did not engage with T1 and rotate back over towards the A site. T1 still playing it very safe, just holding angles, playing point, playing contact, using the fog of war to see who's on the opposite side. And boy, do they find somebody. Jonah gonna sit this one out. Op in the hands of Skadoodle, not in the hands of Spider. Skadoodle very comfortable with that now as we find that first pick. And T1, they find the pick, likely thinking maybe Complexity are gonna over-rotate towards the A site, thinking that there's a push. But after that, it's just silence. So Complexity are going to have to pull their membership back and split the 50-50 defense on B and A.
Yeah, but T1 who just continues to be patient. Again, the way with which, excuse me, they're willing to just wait.
30 seconds
right?
left.
Like, let's cause a little noise, let's just wait, and then we go, and this time it's playing off just fine. As they manage to work their way onto the A site, Complexity rotate a couple members over because nothing was happening, and they're caught with their proverbial pants down. The one benefit they have going for them is that the spike is not down yet, and they have members coming in from opposite sides, but they know where it is, and Daze picks Sharky apart.
You know, I like the rotations from Complexity. The problem is that they play a little too aggressively. AGM spotted out by Daze. Shock Dart does not chip him down, but it's AZK that gets involved. Now it's just down to the hands of Ohai. Op in hand. T1 playing default back towards, or sorry, post plant back towards the attacker side. Showers a short, and of course one close. AZK first op shot's gonna connect, but time is ticking. Ohai notices that Brax playing towards the shower side. Smoke goes down to give him some space, and he starts to defuse. He's already down to half. Past the tailwind out, looking for another shot. That's gonna be Brax, takes him down. And T1 ties up 10-10. And before I pass it back to you, Doug, I honestly feel like Complexity are playing a little too aggressive. And in that aggression, they're finding some success. But these looks down B short or A short or wherever they're peeking early, they're getting taken down by T1. They're willing to win the gunfight. Or not willing, but they just do. And Complexity often find themselves at a man disadvantage before the plants even happen, before the executes even gone underway.
And it's all of these little things that are falling apart for Complexity. It's a death by 1,000 paper cuts really here for them. T1,
Get out of my way.
even like Complexity was able to get onto they were able to create space with the Killjoy ultimate as well. And T1 still managed to take care of business. So I'm just so impressed with how T1 has played this to get back into this thing after being down as they were at half and then losing the pistol and the eco as well. It was easy.
Take flight.
It would be easy to kind of write T1 off, right? Especially on the attacking side, knowing that every map is defensive-sided, but T1 have stood strong, and they've tied this thing up at 10 apiece. They work their way at B here. They have nobody gathering intel over on A, so you presume that that's certainly where they're going to want to go. And Complexity, again, play aggressive, but this time they catch members of T1.
Oh, that's so unfortunate for Spider. XP3 still on the side, and of course they have Sharky playing in towards Hookah. T1 gonna get out of there, gonna start to escape, gonna start to retreat back over towards the A site, but Skadoodle never leaves. Psych, that's the wrong number. He does commit to leaving, and now they've got to work with Complexity, a lot of utility in their way towards the shower side. AZK alongside Skadoodle. They've got utility, fault line, of course, and some of that race utility starting to come through, but they're going to be planting towards the shower side. If AZK dies to XP3 here, it's going to be bad news, pairs, but they find one. It's traded. It's down to none. As Complexity on the eco of all things find themselves a thrifty round and are one away from match point.
And they're going to pick up a couple of guns to... Okay.
It just hits different.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I get it.
Yeah, it just hits different.
I've been guilty of that many a time. But an important round win for Complexity to take the lead, to take weapons going into the next round, and to do so in thrifty fashion is exactly what Complexity needed to get that 6-round monkey off of their backs. But the thing is now they have to capitalize on that. They can't continue to give wiggle room for T1 because T1 have shown proficiency on this side of the map. They've shown that they can rattle off a couple of rounds in quick succession. They've got to put them away.
That they do. T1, 4 ultimates on the docket. I imagine this is the one that they want to swing back into their favor. Put Complexity back down to a 1-loss streak bonus. They've been sitting pretty with 3 in a row, and that's just how it's going to start. Brax finds an aggressive AGM, and once again, what did I say? Complexity are just... These setups here, I understand that they're trying to go for these heroics, trying to find some early picks, whatever, but it hasn't been proven to be entirely successful across the board. Spider teleporting up towards the heaven side, and guess what? Guess who has no idea? It's Complexity. Ohai's going to find another pick. It's the 3v3 that they're down to here for the T1 versus Complexity matchup. Spider going to find another. Not looking good for Complexity.
No, and the Rolling Thunder was there too to create some space, and that allowed T1 to get onto the site. Complexity has 2 members from opposite sides as they try to retake the site. Ohai has just a sliver, the tiniest sliver of health to work with, and Skadoodle's going to be the first one there. Takes him out. Jonah is able to trade one back, but it's still a 1v2 situation, and they know exactly where he is. T1 should be able to put this round in the bag, but Jonah... Oh, they're going to use a showstopper too. He gets flashed up. Jonah's able to get him. It's just going to drop things down to a 1v1, but the spike is the enemy here as well. As the clock continues to go down, they know exactly where he is. Jonah goes aggressive. He tries to get the shot, but AZK holds strong.
Oh, man. AZK. That is the most defining round from both these teams. Complexity needed that win because it reset them down to a loss bonus of 1,900, and they don't have enough. You could see that they're scrambling to put the pieces together from the Salvation Army, and you know, somebody got a pair of Jordans and somebody got some of those old DC shoes from West 49. They're not happy. They wanted the Jordans, but AZK, unfortunately, I think for Jonah, switching to the Classic, I know that if he reloaded, it would have made a sound and he would have been kind of stuck, so he was kind of dealt an unfortunate hand there. But T1, I think, are sitting in a very comfortable position now to close this map out and potentially ascend to. We still have to wait till we get there, but Complexity started off hot, but it's the attack that tends to favor Bind here, and we're seeing that right before our very eyes between these two teams.
And look again, Simo Complexity, they peeked showers, didn't see anything, and then they decide to go aggressive and short. And how many times will Complexity get punished that way before they realize they shouldn't do that anymore? T1 just sits back and waits.
Yeah, they're so patient. And even on the defensive side, they were patient too. They were playing so passive towards the B site, letting Complexity, yeah, take the house, take the basement, take the kitchen, take it all, and then they try to fight back. Now, mind you, that wasn't a very successful half, but they still managed to make it 8-4, which, to be fair, on what feels like to be an attacker-sided half where both teams are comfortable on the attack, that's what you'd want, right? You know, you'd want at least a fighting chance. And now it's just down to Sharky, who's being hunted down by the Sharks themselves. T1, 4 members strong. It's match point for T1, and if we head over to Ascent, where T1 have proven to be an absolute threat, it is not looking good for Complexity. This is do or die right here, or else we go over to T1 territory.
This is a nice spot.
An early strong start out of Complexity, but the story of the second half has been T1. T1 and their patient, methodical play has them back in this map, has them with the lead, and has them on match point, looking to put Complexity away in the opening map of this best of 3. This is the first match for either of these squads in their groups.
Come on.
Aggression.
Come on.
Skadoodle's able to take care of Ohai.
And he's out of there. See you later, folks. I'll be here all week. AZK gonna poke in, see who's there, but he doesn't need to overcommit. Why? Because T1 are comfortable with letting that side of the map go. They've shown 3 towards B short. That means that A is likely not going to be as defensively sided. That's going to be Jonah that falls, because guess what he does? He goes aggressive. Fighter. He unfortunately goes aggressive too and he falls, but he's on the attack. That's his job. He's got to go aggressive. It's down to the 4v3. We're seeing Sharky trying to lurk all the way back around. I don't know if this is going to work out, but we'll have to pay attention to his positioning because T1 are locked in towards this right side of the map.
Knowing that they have the numbers advantage and continuing to wait, it's just so impressive from T1. They're just waiting, knowing that, well, guys, if we wait long enough, there's a good chance Complexity is going to be aggressive. Now they're going to start to shimmy their way up a short. One of them's going to be spotted out. That's going to be Brax over in Showers. XP3 goes aggressive. He's able to get 2, looking for the third, but he's going to have to back off 31 health and having to reload, but the damage has been done. T1 just down to 1 member left and 10 seconds to boot. This time it was the patience of Complexity that sends us to overtime.
Switching
sides. Yeah, T1 have the ability to slow things down, and that's ultimately what's been so beneficial to them on this attacker side, as we obviously now swap back to Complexity on the defense. But T1 have been playing such a slow and methodical attack. They're willing to just sit tight, work their way up. It's a game of inches, not a game of miles for them. They inch ever so close to the victory. But Complexity, they slowed things down as well. They know exactly where T1 are located, and yeah, it was super critical, but once they slowed things down, they found success. If you had done that for the 6 rounds that you bled to T1, I'd imagine we'd be looking not at overtime, but yet here we are. It's okay. Reset. 5,000 credits apiece, round after round. No ops on the table. Let's see how these two teams duke it out in overtime.
Very strong map from Spider. I believe he was 22 and 17 or something insane like that. But again, now Complexity on the attacking side. It looks like they're going to lean towards A. They're funneling 4 members up short. Spider's going to get tagged up pretty aggressively early on. It's going to have to back up and give up U-Haul control.
Still has the support from Skadoodle, who's going to be the first point of contact here. Does not see XP3 down behind the truck there. AZK will be able to support it. Now it's Skadoodle's cop without a weapon in his hands. Ohai will graciously greet him in the lamps area. Down to the 4v4. AZK with the flashpoint would have been a great peek. Might have been able to find one, but now it's just down to Spider. The rest of the team are a little bit late to the party. But it's a 4v3 in favor of Complexity.
Spider is able to get 1. Trying to provide himself some cover too. Make sure that nobody's going to be pushing in from the Showers area, and it looks like there is going to be 1. It looks like that was going to be AGM. Trying to work his way over, but Brax just goes to stick it.
Oh,
he's going to stick it. He's sitting in his cage.
Bros don't fake.
He robs them blind right under their noses. He takes it away.
Come on, Brax,
Switching
baby.
sides.
Come on,
Match point.
T1. What a round. What? Listen, I think Complexity, my personal opinion, have some incredible raw talent. Like, look at how they've played up against T1. At one point or another, a top 5 team in North America. They've obviously proven that they can really roll with the big dogs. The problem becomes when T1 slow things down and turn into veteran status mode, turn that into overdrive, and just hold on. You've got years of experience that you just know. You just got the sixth sense, and Brax had it right there in that moment. Diffuses right underneath Complexity's nose. And now that the sides have swapped, this is, you know, statistically a side that T1 should be able to win. Let's see what they've got cooking for this A site hit.
No aggression out of Complexity this time. They're not funneling up a short. They're not funneling through hookah. They're just sitting back. A very different look, and it looks like they've learned from their mistakes early on. Spider works his way in. Ohai and AGM both greet members of T1 with a couple of bullets. Complexity with the numbers advantage as T1 falls apart.
Player standing.
Wow, it's down to Skadoodle. I'm not exactly sure what happened there. It looks like they had rotated correctly, and somehow AGM finds himself an ult throughout all of that, has a lockdown. Skadoodle is going to find one, and we're going to reset things back to a T1 defense and a Complexity offense.
Overtime.
What a great hold there from Complexity. They call the read correctly and invest all of their resources back towards the A site. And ultimately, it nets them the round here. But for T1, they've got to go back to the drawing board and secure this round here. This is a round where both teams, they favor the attack. So this is super important for T1. And ultimately, even more important for Complexity to close out this attack as well.
Note that Spider is bringing an operator to this round, to this fight. The problem is, all he's really going to see is a drone out of the hands of the Sova, as it looks like the Spike and the rest of the resources for Complexity are over on the other side of the map. Furthermore, T1 has lit up the site with utility like a Christmas tree, as they have Cypher traps all over the place. Nonetheless, Complexity still trying to work their way forward. A cool little one-way as Ohai dashes in, and he gets punished right off the bat.
And Brax once again holding things down. Dazed, unfortunately not able to do the same. Down to the 2v4. Not looking so good for Complexity here as we're starting to narrow down to the wire. Spike needs to get planted, and it is going to be in the hands of XP3. Unfortunately, not sure how that spray does not work, but he still ends up falling regardless. AZK and Brax working on both sides of the tuna can. They'll come out like a fish, take out their opposition. T1 now lead by 1. This is an important round for them as they're back on the attack. Half that they pretty much had a copy and paste from Complexity, 8-4 finish. You imagine that. And now this is all down to them. Last time Complexity were able to really just hold them off from the A-side push. It was, to some extent, strange to see AGM just shred through 3 members pushing in through the showers. But to be fair, T1's pushes have always worked through A short, not necessarily through the shower side. So we'll see if they re-strategize this time around, find some early success, or if Complexity will be able to hold them off once again.
The utility gets taken out from the Killjoy over in showers, but again, T1 slow and steady. It's very patiently. Daze, you see Daze using the drone to try to get a little bit of info, not spotting anything over on B. AZK is going to try to clear out U-Haul. It's going to force Ohai back as T1 continue to create space and continue to work their way over onto A. Ohai has been forced to back up. AGM's able to get one. Spider trades it back out as numbers drop to 4 apiece.
They know where he is. Finds that pick, peeking out the showers. They still can't get that spike down until AGM dies. They know where he is, but not necessarily exactly where. He could be ready for a peek towards the A site. He could be ready for a peek, but now we're seeing Dazed. He's going to help Brax flush this out, but by now this has already been a lot of time passed for Complexity to get into position. We saw this last time right before they tied us up 12-12. They were in a position
30 seconds left
to pinch onto T1. It's down to the 3v4, and while the advantage is to T1, Complexity are in a great position to pinch them in. We'll have to pay attention to Jonah, how he starts to peek forward. Skadoodle and Spider working their way in. Brax alongside Daze working on the opposite angle, but the spike's still not down. 12 seconds left. Make that 10. They've got to get on the site. Now that they start planting, we'll see as they start to push in. That's going to be one from Sharky. Finds the swing, but there's no time to plant. There's going to be the plant, but it's down to 2 final players. And you waited too long. The patient play from T1 suffers as we reset for another second overtime.
And it was really patient play out of Complexity there as well. Jonah was sitting on the flank from A short for what felt like 26 years, and they had 2 members of T1 pinched in showers, right? Like, they knew that AGM was sitting over in showers, and then there were 2 members sitting in U-Haul, and they had what they needed. But they did not push aggressively, they did not isolate gunfights, and that ultimately is what netted them that round win. Very, very patient play from both squads, and again, down to 14 apiece.
Dazed gathers a little bit of information as he jump peek. He was on the opposite side.
Deploying drone.
And he hears a shot. He knows there's at least membership towards the B side. They have a lot of utility there. They have a bigger percentage of their membership here on the A side, on the B side, as well. A little bit more passive play, but Brax is willing to be the gatekeeper of the site. This Complexity are likely going to attack this fast. They have never really been slow to attack, and now as they start to push in, this is where it all matters down. But the Owl Drone's got to be a little bit scary for Daze. Still wins the gunfight. Can he win a second? He cannot. Down to the 4v4. Spike still not planted as T1 are starting a pinch of their own.
Oh, that was such a huge kill for Skadoodle because that essentially does not allow the rotate over to A. They have to commit onto this fight, and Brax and Spider just mow them down. T1 take the lead.
Switching sides.
These teams are just going blow for blow. I think this is honestly a testament to how Complexity have grown, especially with these 2 new members, and additionally how T1 have grown. I think for a long time they were obviously out of the scene, only playing in the tournaments that felt mattered to them, and of course they unfortunately had to move some of the pieces around, get some new pieces installed into their roster. But I think ultimately on paper you would really quickly be quick to say T1 is going to win this, no problem, easy peasy, even despite the lack of presence in Ignition Series or just tournaments in North America in general. For Complexity, the fact that this series might have felt like a write-off to some, especially in T1's favor, Complexity are putting up a strong fight up against T1, as this bind map is already going down to the wire. We already find a pick here for Complexity, and it's the 4v5 that remains.
Well, and look at the adjustments. You were just talking about the maturity and how well Complexity have developed. Just look at how they've already adjusted on the defending side on this map. For what felt like an eternity, we talked about how aggressive Complexity was playing and how they continued to get punished and how they needed to stop. Well, Simo, they stopped. It was very late, but they stopped, and that's what got us into overtime. And that's what got them that opening pick there in the opening moments of this round. So Complexity continues to impress. Spider, unfortunately, getting caught out. You hate to see that.
Yeah, they're going to group over towards this B site. We do have a member on there. It's Jonah. He's up in the tuna can, but Skadoodle, they're really interested in the back of the site, worrying about the elbow, but they gotta worry about their own gameplay. As Jonah will take down 2, sneaky beaky like down to once again another overtime.
Okay. All right. T1 on the defending side here, right? Like we've seen that Complexity are perfectly fine with hitting a hot and heavy hit on a site on the attack. They've also shown that they'll play aggressively on the defense, but T1 have shown us that they're very okay giving up space, right? Like back up, give up space. Complexity, you guys take the site, we'll fight for the retake, you know, what have you. In the first half, Complexity was able to punish that, not just by getting onto the site, but by fighting the retake and keeping them at bay as well. But so far, T1, it just looks like it's a lot of the same from the first half.
Early pick here for XP3. Op shot on to Spider. And now it's down to the 4v5. Dazed in a very interesting position. We don't normally see That angle, he's gonna find two, really nullify that early op shot, and that op is gonna be swapped for a rifle. Down to the 3v3, T1 rotating early over towards the B side, but they have utility present. AGM's gonna be flanking from the hookah side, but they can call the teleporter at a moment's notice. If Sharky finds another pick here, he can actually get the showstopper, and that'll be detrimental to T1's goal of winning this round.
Can't imagine the teleporter play really being in play here, as there's no information over. They have to commit on to this B site. Brax is able to get one, and it looked like they're considering it, but they're committing. They have to commit.
Satchel out.
They have no choice. Spike planted, 20 seconds remaining, but Sharky gets tagged, and the aftershock pushes him back. 14 seconds. This is do or die. Spike is being
10
planted.
seconds left.
T1 are willing to let this plant happen, but now that the showstopper is ready, this is going to be a problem. Has to remove the dart, but now here comes AZK. AGM going to find one, but Sharky can't make the showstopper work as it's down to the 1v1. AGM trying to spray, trying to find AZK, and he will. Complexity winning their first round of this overtime. And considering they've always won this one too, it is not looking good for T1.
T1 on the attacking side, as Complexity has figured out their defensive woes, have to find a different way, have to find a different look. And maybe this is the time that you whip out the hot and heavy hit on a site instead of playing as passively or as patiently as you have been. But either way, T1 have to find something here. They have to make something work just to keep this map alive. Complexity, again, much like has been the case for the majority of overtime, playing very cautiously, playing very defensively on this half of the map. And T1, it looks like they're going to be doing a lot of the same. The fascinating thing, the best part about these two types of plays is that it's often like very quiet and then things explode in a moment's notice.
Cover going out.
Now T1, a little bit more spread out. Oh, hi. All of the utility is now down, but of course he didn't have any to start with because once again he bought the op. I keep forgetting that it costs him everything that he owns every single round if he's going to want to invest into it. So now T1 still with the 5v5. Looking towards the B side. There's one member there. It's Sharky. How much power does he have within him? So far, it seems like a lot. He's going to find the utility frag onto AZK, still holding down behind the tuna cannon. The rest of Complexity have arrived, but guess who also has? It's Skadoodle! As it's down to the 3v3. Shots are still ringing out. Sees AGM's shoulder. As now they'll default back, but the spray back from AGM through the tuna can. It's down to the 2v3. Spider looking towards the doorway leading towards the labs. Time is ticking. Spike needs to be planted. Looking at Brat's perspective in the pip. XP3 pushing forward. It's not looking good for T1 as Complexity